just to mention one of these kind of areas which was unique in Denmark, which I wouldn't have imagined existed. There is this stone head in the top of a church, 100 kilometers west of Copenhagen, which it's not really something super spectacular when you first look at it, but the stories around them go from that it was a giant that was killed, and people used the head when it rained with the water. When it came to the head, they used it to heal themselves and drank it, and really, it happened in Denmark. It probably happened till 200 years ago. So there are these areas still around in the landscape, and even a lot on churches, which had these pagan rituals actually connected to them, basically. But I mentioned it about Thor because some people have connected this head to some kind of a worship of Thor, a Thor cult or something. But we can definitely talk about the gods. I'm just not much. Lasse knows a lot more about that than me. So,
do you want to jump in on that, Leslie?
Yeah. As I was saying earlier, a lot of the pagan gods got sort of appropriated by the Christian Church, or perhaps the population found saints that fitted the characteristics of the deities and worshipped them instead of the gods. And one famous example is Saint Olau, a Norwegian saint who was popular in Denmark and Sweden and Norway, I think he was a Jarl on Orkney or the Shetland Islands or something like that. And he was sort of a Scandinavian saint, an early saint. He was very popular with the peasant population in the country. I mean, most of the country was countryside back then, but there's a lot of similarities in his worship and the worship of Thor. And I remember reading a story recently where in ancient times, before the first seed was put into the ground, an idol of Thor was carried over the field. And a couple of centuries later, the same thing happened, but it was like an icon of Saint Olau. So he just took over the responsibilities of Thor. And this has happened in a lot of places. If we look at the holy springs or the holy wells found all over the country, natural springs which have been giving healing properties in folklore, these places were so popular even until as late as 100 years ago in some places. And a lot of the archaeology has shown that they've been used since perhaps the Bronze Age and certainly in the Viking Age. And a lot of the place names can be traced back to pagan gods, not Christian gods. Even sometimes they've gotten rebranded, and some of them have not. And you could see it's I forgot. Was it Tiersted or?
Yeah, the Tibirke,
Tibirke, yeah.
Tofte Spring, yeah.
Yeah, which could be a tribute to the god Tyr. So there's a lot of place names with pagan origin all over Denmark, of course, and a lot of evidence of these holy springs having been used and visited before Christianity, and then after Christianity it was Saint this or that spring instead of a pagan god.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing about the trees. I mean, there's a lot of example of how Christianity certainly became the new religion, but it took over a lot of the old responsibilities